The sky above Earth was dark with alien ships. Their massive, shadowy forms blotted out the sun. Below, cities lay in ruins, their buildings reduced to rubble. The once bustling streets were now empty, silent except for the occasional alien patrol. The invaders had come from the stars and they had brought devastation with them. In the Arctic, the cold had never seemed so welcoming. Hidden beneath layers of ice and snow was a secret facility that the aliens had not discovered. This facility was a remnant of humanity's last hope. It had been built many years before, designed to protect the world's most advanced technology and its strongest warriors. Inside, in a vast chamber lined with metal tubes, Earth's last super soldiers slept in cryogenic stasis. They were waiting for a time when humanity might need them again. The aliens, believing they had completed their conquest, had little interest in the Arctic wasteland. They were focused on exploring and claiming the rest of the planet. Their leader, General Krond, was a ruthless commander. He had no patience for anything that did not immediately serve his purpose. He ordered his troops to secure the areas of interest and leave the rest to the cold and darkness. One day, however, a group of alien scientists stumbled upon the hidden facility. They had been tasked with examining every possible threat, no matter how remote. The facility, buried deep beneath the ice, had long been forgotten. The aliens were surprised to find it intact. They sent a team of engineers and scientists to explore. As the aliens entered the facility, their advanced sensors and tools detected unusual readings. The scientists were intrigued. What could this place be? They found the entrance to the main chamber where the super soldiers lay in their tubes. The sight was both strange and fascinating. The soldiers were preserved in a state of suspended animation, their bodies perfectly intact despite the passage of time. The alien scientists were curious. They began to examine the tubes and the technology that held the soldiers in stasis. The machines were complex, far beyond what the aliens had seen before. The general, hearing of this discovery, decided to investigate for himself. He saw an opportunity to learn about the humans' last line of defense. Perhaps it could be useful, or, better yet, a chance to prove the aliens' supremacy once more. As General Krond approached the chamber, he sneered at the thought of humans being a threat. They had been defeated so thoroughly it was hard to imagine them being a danger. He ordered his troops to secure the area and prepare for a full inspection. The scientists continued their work, unaware that their interest was about to awaken a sleeping giant. Suddenly, one of the tubes began to hum and glow. The alien scientists turned in shock as the first signs of life appeared. The cryogenic chamber of Captain Auric, the leader of the super soldiers, started to activate. The general's eyes widened in surprise. Could it be that the humans were not completely defeated? The awakening of one soldier could mean more trouble. Captain Auric's eyes slowly opened. The world around him was dark, and he felt disoriented. He looked around and saw the aliens in their strange uniforms, their faces full of surprise and curiosity. Auric's training kicked in as he tried to understand what was happening. He realized that he was no longer in his time, but he had no idea what had happened to Earth. As Auric tried to assess his surroundings, the aliens quickly moved to contain the situation. They prepared to eliminate the potential threat before it could become a problem. But Auric, even in his confusion, was not easily subdued. His instincts told him to fight, and he began to resist. The aliens had thought the war was over, but they were about to discover that humanity's last hope was not so easily extinguished. The awakening of the super soldier marked the beginning of a new chapter in the struggle for Earth, one that would test the aliens' dominance and force them to confront the fierce spirit of the human race. Captain Auric's eyes fluttered open, the darkness of his cryogenic chamber slowly giving way to a dim, flickering light. His body felt heavy, as though he had been asleep for a very long time. Disoriented, he tried to move but found his limbs stiff and unresponsive. The cold air of the Arctic base was different from the controlled environment he remembered. Auric's senses slowly came back to him. He saw alien shapes moving around him, their strange uniforms and equipment unfamiliar. Panic rose in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had been trained for moments like this. He took a deep breath and forced his frozen muscles to move. The aliens were focused on their tasks, oblivious to the fact that one of their most dangerous discoveries was coming to life. They were busy analyzing the cryogenic chambers and the complex technology that had preserved the soldiers. Auric noticed that their attention was split between their equipment and their discussions, giving him a chance to observe them. He tried to recall what had happened. The last thing he remembered was being put into stasis, waiting for a time when Earth might need him again. Now the world outside was shattered, and the aliens had taken control. Arik knew he needed to act fast. His training had prepared him for many scenarios, but this was different. He had to figure out how to survive and, if possible, help any surviving humans. As he carefully studied the aliens, Arik noticed their surprise when one of the cryogenic tubes started to hum and glow. They seemed to recognize that something significant was happening. Arik used this distraction to his advantage. He pushed himself out of the tube, his movements shaky but determined. The room was cold and sterile, with metal walls and bright lights that made it hard to see clearly. Arik stumbled slightly as he stood up, his body adjusting to the unfamiliar weight and cold. He saw the aliens scrambling to control the situation, their voices rising in alarm as they realized that their discovery was no longer dormant. The aliens' leader, General Krond, entered the room with a stern expression. He was a tall, imposing figure, his presence commanding respect and fear. Arik could see that the general was assessing him with cold, calculating eyes. The general's voice boomed with authority as he issued orders to his troops. Arik's mind raced. He had to act quickly to avoid being captured. He moved stealthily towards a nearby control panel, hoping to find some way to communicate or escape. As he approached the panel, he noticed it was still functional, and he quickly began to work on it, trying to figure out how to use it. The aliens, meanwhile, were starting to mobilize. They gathered their weapons and prepared to subdue Arik before he could cause any more trouble. Arik knew he was in a dangerous situation. The aliens had likely never faced anyone like him before, and he needed to use that to his advantage. With quick thinking, Arik managed to access the base's communication system. He sent a distress signal, hoping to reach any remaining human forces that might be out there. The signal was brief, but it carried a clear message: help. Earth's last hope is awake. As he finished sending the message, the general and his soldiers moved in to capture him. Arik turned to face them, his resolve hardening. He was a soldier, trained for battle, and he was ready to fight for the survival of humanity. The room erupted into chaos as Arik engaged the aliens. His combat skills were sharp, even after years of stasis. He fought with precision and strength, pushing back against the alien invaders. The fight was fierce, and the general watched with a mixture of frustration and admiration. In the midst of the struggle, Arik realized that the aliens had underestimated him. They had thought that humanity was finished, but he was proof that Earth's spirit was far from defeated. The battle for the Arctic base was just beginning, and Arik was determined to make sure that humanity's last stand would not be in vain. The Arctic base was now a war zone. The sound of blaster fire and explosions echoed through the cold metal corridors. Captain Arik, having just fought off the alien troops, was determined to turn the tide. His goal was clear: drive the aliens out and find any remaining human survivors. The base, once a secure and secret haven, had become a battleground. Arik and his team of super soldiers had quickly regrouped after the initial skirmish. They were fewer in number, but their training and technology gave them a fighting chance. Arik's mind was sharp, and his leadership skills were crucial in this desperate fight. The aliens, caught off guard by the fierce resistance, scrambled to respond. General Krond was enraged. His plans had been disrupted, and the humans were proving to be more than just a minor inconvenience. He ordered his troops to launch a full-scale assault, hoping to crush the human resistance once and for all. Arik's team moved through the base with purpose. They used their advanced knowledge of the facility to their advantage, setting traps and ambushes for the alien forces. They knew the layout of the base well, and they used that knowledge to stay one step ahead of their enemies. The fighting was intense, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Arik led from the front, showing his soldiers how to fight effectively. His strategies were simple but effective: strike fast, use cover, and never underestimate the enemy. His team followed his lead, their movements precise and coordinated. They took out alien patrols, disrupted supply lines, and slowly pushed the invade. "Earth's back!" The aliens, however, were relentless. General Krond's frustration grew as he watched his troops struggle. He knew he needed to change tactics. He ordered his scientists to develop new weapons and strategies, hoping to turn the battle in their favor. These new weapons were designed to counter the super soldiers' advantages, and they soon began to appear on the battlefield. One of the new weapons was a powerful energy cannon. It could blast through walls and armor, and it proved to be a serious threat to Auric's team. The cannon was mounted on a mobile platform, and the aliens used it to create havoc among the human defenders. The cannon's powerful shots caused massive damage, and Auric's team found themselves on the defensive. Auric realized that the new weapon could change the course of the battle. He quickly devised a plan to neutralize the threat. He divided his team into two groups, one to distract the aliens and draw their fire, and the other to get close to the cannon and disable it. The plan was risky, but it was their best chance. The distraction team engaged the aliens head-on, drawing their attention away from the cannon. Auric's team moved stealthily, using the chaos to their advantage. They reached the mobile platform and began working on disabling the cannon. The aliens, realizing what was happening, rushed to protect their weapon. The battle around the cannon was fierce. Auric's team fought bravely, holding off the aliens while they worked. They managed to disable the cannon just in time, causing the aliens to retreat in frustration. The destruction of the cannon was a significant victory for Auric's team, but the battle was far from over. The alien forces regrouped and prepared for a counterattack. General Krond knew he needed to take more drastic measures. He ordered a massive assault on the base's main control center, hoping to crush the remaining human resistance in one final push. As the aliens closed in on the control center, Auric and his team prepared for the fight of their lives. They knew that the outcome of this battle could determine the fate of Earth. Auric's leadership and the bravery of his soldiers would be tested like never before. The fight was intense, with both sides giving their all. Auric and his team fought with every ounce of their strength, determined to protect their home and ensure that humanity's last stand would not end in defeat. The Arctic base was now in chaos. Alien forces had regrouped and were pressing harder than ever. Captain Auric and his team of super soldiers had held their ground so far, but they knew they needed to change their approach to win. The aliens had superior numbers and firepower, so they needed a bold plan. In a small, hidden command room deep within the base, Auric and his remaining team members gathered around a holographic map of the facility. The map showed the layout of the base and the positions of key alien installations. The room was dimly lit, with only the blue glow of the hologram illuminating their faces. Auric's second-in-command, Lieutenant Maya, pointed to a section of the map. "The aliens have set up a stronghold here," she said, her finger tracing a red zone on the map. "It's where they're coordinating their attacks. If we can take it out, we might be able to turn the tide." Auric nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. The stronghold was heavily fortified, but it was also the key to the aliens' operations. If they could destroy it, the aliens' command and control would be severely disrupted. "We need to hit them hard and fast," Auric said, his voice steady and confident. "We'll strike at the heart of their operation." The plan was risky but necessary. Auric and his team would split into two groups. The first group would create a diversion, drawing the alien forces away from the stronghold. The second group would infiltrate the stronghold and plant explosives to destroy it. Timing and coordination would be crucial. The team quickly set to work. The diversion group, led by Sergeant Jake, began setting up traps and ambushes to lure the aliens into a different part of the base. They used old human technology to create loud noises and false signals, making it seem like a major assault was happening elsewhere. Meanwhile, Auric's group prepared for their dangerous mission. They gathered explosives and stealth equipment, knowing they would need to move silently and quickly. They reviewed the plan one last time, making sure everyone knew their role. The success of the mission depended on their precise timing and teamwork. As the diversion group began their operation, the aliens took the bait. They moved in force towards the false signals, leaving the stronghold less guarded. Auric and his team seized the opportunity. They moved silently through the base's ventilation shafts, avoiding detection as they made their way to the stronghold. The stronghold was heavily guarded, with alien troops stationed at every entrance. Auric's team used their advanced gear to bypass the security systems and gain access. They worked quickly, placing explosives in key locations within the stronghold. The goal was to cause maximum damage and disrupt the aliens' ability to coordinate their attacks. As they worked, the aliens began to realize something was wrong. Alarms started blaring, and security forces rushed back to the stronghold. Auric's team had to move fast. They finished planting the explosives and prepared to escape. They knew that once the explosives were set, they had only moments before the stronghold would be destroyed. The team made their way back to the extraction point, narrowly avoiding the returning alien forces. The tension was high as they moved, but their training and determination kept them focused. They reached the extraction point and signaled for their transport. As they were pulled to safety, the base shook with a powerful explosion. The stronghold erupted in flames, sending debris flying into the air. The destruction was massive, and the shock waves could be felt even from a distance. The destruction of the stronghold was a significant blow to the alien forces. They were thrown into confusion as their command and control were disrupted. The aliens were forced to regroup and reassess their strategy. Auric and his team watched from a safe distance as the base settled into uneasy silence. They had pulled off a bold and dangerous mission, but the fight was far from over. They knew the aliens would not give up easily, and they needed to be ready for whatever came next. The destruction of the stronghold was a crucial victory, but it was only the beginning. Auric and his team were prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that their bravery and resolve would be tested to the limit. The Arctic base was eerily quiet after the destruction of the stronghold. The alien forces, disoriented and disorganized, were regrouping. Captain Auric and his team knew that this was their chance to end the fight once and for all. The final battle was about to begin. The sky above the base was dark, filled with the low hum of alien ships circling overhead. The base itself was a scene of destruction, with smoke and debris scattered everywhere. Auric and his team prepared for the last decisive clash. They were determined to push back the invaders and reclaim their home. Auric gathered his team for a final briefing. "We've hit them hard," he said, his voice steady. "But this is the last push. We need to hit their command center and force them to retreat. They're vulnerable now, but we must act quickly." The team nodded, their expressions serious. They had fought hard to get to this point, and they knew the final battle would be their toughest challenge yet. They were ready to give everything they had for the survival of Earth. The plan was straightforward. Auric and his team would launch a full-scale assault on the alien command center. They would need to fight their way through the alien defenses and reach the heart of the base, where they could disable the remaining alien forces. Timing and coordination would be crucial. As they advanced, Auric's team encountered fierce resistance. The aliens had regrouped and fortified their positions, but the humans pressed on. The battle was intense, with blaster fire and explosions filling the air. Auric and his team fought with determination, using their advanced technology and combat skills to overcome the alien defenses. The aliens, realizing the seriousness of the threat, mobilized their forces. General Krond, who had been watching from a command ship, ordered a full-scale defense of the command center. The aliens launched counterattacks, hoping to repel the human assault and maintain their hold on the base. Despite the increased resistance, Auric's team pushed forward. They fought their way through the alien defenses, their progress steady but hard-won. The base was a maze of corridors and rooms, but they used their knowledge of the facility to stay on track. The final stretch to the command center was the most dangerous. The aliens had set up heavy defenses, including energy barriers and automated turrets. Auric and his team had to use all their skills to breach these defenses. They worked as a unit, with some members providing cover, while others disabled the barriers and turrets. As they neared the command center, the intensity of the battle reached its peak. The aliens were determined to hold their ground, and the fighting was fierce. Auric led the charge, his leadership and bravery inspiring his team to push through. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors were heavily guarded, but Auric's team managed to break through. Inside, they found General Krond, who was preparing to launch a final offensive against any remaining human forces. The general was furious, his anger evident as he saw the humans breach his stronghold. The final confrontation was brutal. Auric and General Krond faced off, their combat skills and determination matched. The general was a formidable opponent, but Auric's experience and training gave him the edge. The two clashed in a fierce battle, each determined to defeat the other. In the end, Auric's skill and resolve won out. He defeated General Krond, forcing the remaining alien forces to surrender. The command center was in ruins, and the aliens were in disarray. The humans had won the final battle, but the cost had been high. As the smoke cleared, Auric and his team surveyed the aftermath. The base was heavily damaged, but the alien threat had been neutralized. The surviving humans began to emerge from their hiding places, their faces showing relief and hope. The victory was hard-earned, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter for Earth. The base, once a symbol of humanity's struggle, now stood as a testament to their resilience and bravery. Arik and his team had proven that even in the darkest times, humanity could rise to the challenge. The final battle was over, but the fight for Earth was far from finished. The survivors would rebuild and prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that as long as they stood together, they could face any threat and ensure that their home would remain safe.